John Andretti won his first pole here at Darlington in 1995 during his second full year in the Winston Cup Series.
Leading those cars to the green flag for the first time can be an intimidating experience, but he handled it real well and went on to finish 12th in that race.
John Andretti had a thrilling victory here at Martinsville in the spring of 1999. He came back from a lap down to earn his second career victory.
I remember that one. He drove the wheels off the car and won it going away. You had to sit back and go, wow, this guy is for real.
In 1997, John Andretti won his first race here at Daytona in the Pepsi 400.
He almost won a second at Martinsville that year before finishing 6th. He came back from a lap down there a couple of years later for his second win. That was one heck of a race.
Atwood started his first Winston Cup race here at Richmond in 2000.
He did a fine job out there, too. He was competitive and came home with a 19th place finish.
Atwood nearly got a win during his rookie season here before winding up in third.
Yeah, he and teammate Bill Elliott put on quite a show up front late in the race, but after Casey got a little loose in turn 4, Awesome Bill went on to get his first victory in 7 years.
Casey Atwood got his first career pole at this track in 2001.
You know, Casey had a good rookie season in that number 19 Dodge. Not a big surprise when Ray Evernham picks you to drive his race car. He expects his drivers to get poles and to run up front.
Jeff Burton made some big bucks in 1999 when he won two $1 million bonuses for wins at Lowe's and here at Darlington.
You know, you got drivers out there who haven't even had a chance at that $1 million bonus, and here Jeff Burton comes along and wins 2 of them in one season.
Jeff Burton made his NASCAR Winston Cup debut at New Hampshire in 1993, and since then he's had quite a bit of success here.
Well, he certainly has. He won a race here in 4 consecutive seasons starting back in 1997. And he led every single lap during that win in 2000. Now that's domination.
Texas Motor Speedway saw a couple of firsts in the spring of 1997, its first race, and Jeff Burton's first career victory.
When you get on a new track, the playing field's a lot more even. It's a lot easier to win when the guy next to you hasn't been racing there for 20 years.
Ward Burton got a pole during his rookie season here at Lowe's Motor Speedway in 1994.
He got the pole, but he finished 41st. That pretty much summed up Ward's rookie season when he failed to finish 12 races.
Ward Burton got himself and car owner Bill Davis their first career victories here at the Rock in the fall of '95.
You know, Ward didn't start out with Bill Davis racing in 1995. He switched teams with 9 races left in the season, had one heck of a finish with that win and 2 other top 5 finishes.
We saw quite a finish here at Las Vegas in 1999 when Jeff Burton edged out his older brother Ward for the win.
That wasn't the only time that happened in '99. Ward finished runner-up to Jeff 3 times in '99, making Ward wait until 2000 for his second trip to victory lane.
2000 was a memorable year for Johnny Benson at Daytona. He was leading the 500 with 4 laps to go, but wound up in 12th.
And you know, he didn't even have a sponsor up until race day. Johnny was out front and looking good, but he got railroaded by a train of Fords after a late caution restart.
Johnny Benson won the Busch Series championship in 1995.
That championship was sandwiched between 2 Rookie of the Year awards. He won the Busch Series award in 1994, followed up his championship with Winston Cup rookie honors in '96.
Johnny Benson started on the pole for the first time in his career at Atlanta.
You know, he really surprised some people that weekend. Not only was it his rookie season, but it was also only his 4th start in Winston Cup.
Kevin Harvick won here in only his 3rd career start. How's that for an instant success story?
This kid has got talent. There's no doubt about that. With Rookie of the Year honors in 2 of NASCAR's circuits and a Busch Series championship, you've got to be expecting big things out of him in the years to come.
Kevin Harvick won the inaugural race here at Chicagoland Speedway in 2001.
You know, this guy is already a force to be reckoned with. That was his 2nd win of a very successful Rookie of the Year campaign that saw him finish 9th in the points.
Kevin Harvick accomplished an incredible feat in 2001. He won the Busch Series championship while competing full-time on the Winston Cup circuit.
To race all those miles and be as good as he was is simply amazing. I'm sure the extra track time helped him, but you just get tired racing like that every weekend.
Dale Jr. made his first NASCAR Winston Cup start at this track.
He also had one of his biggest paydays here when he became the first rookie to win the Winston. He took home over $500,000. Not bad for a night's work, huh?
At the first EA Sports 500 in 2001, Dale Earnhardt Jr. found victory lane and collected his first $1 million bonus.
Just like his father the year before, he's definitely shown some talent for racing on these restrictor plate tracks. If you're out front here or at Daytona, you better look out for the number 8 car.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a great start to his Winston Cup career, winning here at Texas in only his 12th race.
He didn't just win, he dominated. Jr. came out of the gate with a car to beat. led the most laps, cruised into victory lane where a very proud father was waiting for him.
Bill Elliott holds a record here at Talladega that will never fall unless they take these restrictor plates off. He made it around this 2.66-mile tri-oval at a speed of almost 213 miles per hour.
Now that's fast. I guess they don't call him Awesome Bill from Dawsonville for nothing.
Way back in 1976, Bill Elliott made his first Winston Cup start here at the Rock, earning himself $640.
He finished 33rd that day. Today, the 33rd place finisher will bring home over $40,000. NASCAR sure has come a long way, hasn't it?
Bill Elliott owned and drove for his own race team for 6 years before joining Ray Evernham in 2001.
You know, driving for your own race team is a tough deal. I think Bill was happy to get back to worrying about one thing, being fast out there on the racetrack.
Jeff Gordon won the first NASCAR race at this facility in 1997. That was one of 10 wins for him that year.
Well, that was year 2 in a 3-year streak that saw him win 33 races, over a third of all the events they ran. You can't get much better than that.
In 1994, Jeff Gordon was the inaugural winner of the Brickyard 400. I remember thinking this guy was going to be special.
And that was only the second win of his career. He sure had a lot of them since then, hasn't he? Week in and week out, there isn't a better race driver out there than Jeff Gordon.
Jeff Gordon has been the man to beat for quite a while on these road courses. He won 6 in a row before Steve Park won at the Glen in 2000.
You know, with a record like that, he's got to be considered a favorite to win this one today. If you see him in your rearview mirror, look out.
Bobby Hamilton got his first win here at Phoenix back in 1996.
He was driving the 43 car back then, and he made Petty Enterprises pretty happy that day. It had been 13 years since Petty Enterprises had a win, and that was by the King in 1983.
In 1989, Bobby Hamilton got his first start in NASCAR as part of a production for a stock car racing movie.
Well, that's one heck of a way to break onto the circuit. Wasn't too long before he was racing full-time. He won Rookie of the Year honors in 1991.
Dale Jarrett won his second Brickyard 400 in 1999. It was one of 4 wins in a championship year for the 88 team.
Boy, that was quite a season. He finished in the top 5 24 times and had only 1 DNF. And the $6.5 million he took home wasn't too bad either.
In 1991, Dale Jarrett got his first career win here at Michigan while driving for the Wood Brothers.
And since then, he's gotten quite a few more. Ever since he joined up with Robert Yates Racing in 1995, he's been a championship contender every year.
Dale Jarrett was part of one of the tightest point battles in NASCAR history in 1997. He ended up finishing second to Jeff Gordon.
And he didn't finish second by much, only 14 points, and Mark Martin wasn't too far behind either. Those last couple of races in a season are pretty exciting when a championship is on the line.
In 2000, Matt Kenseth won the circuit's longest race, the Coca-Cola 600, here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Well, if you're going to win one race, that's a good one to win. Along with Daytona and Indy, it's one of the most prestigious on the schedule.
Matt Kenseth got his start in NASCAR Winston Cup here at Dover in 1998, filling in for Bill Elliott in a one-race deal.
He had quite a day, too. He caught the eye of a bunch of folks with a 6th-place finish. Here you are, first time in a Cup race, driving a Hall of Famer's car, and you finish 6th. That's amazing.
After finishing second twice to Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the Busch Series championship, Kenseth beat him out for Rookie of the Year in 2000.
And he did it without qualifying well. Despite only 2 top 10 starting spots, he posted a 14th place points finish and a win and 11 top 10s.
After finishing second at this track in April of 2000 to regain the points lead, Bobby Labonte never trailed again on his way to the championship.
Well, after watching Bobby finish second in 1999, you kind of figured he'd have a good 2000 season. But I don't know if anyone expected him to come out and take control like he did. It was very impressive.
Bobby Labonte has won several races here at the Pocono Raceway, including a thriller in 2001.
That was quite a finish in 2001. Bobby got by Earnhardt Jr. with a daring pass in the tunnel turn with less than 2 laps to go. After that, clear sailing to the finish line.
In 1993, Bobby Labonte finished second to Jeff Gordon in the Rookie of the Year battle.
You know, that's a pretty good rookie class. At first, Gordon's accomplishments overshadowed Bobby's, but Labonte had been a solid contender for the title in each of the last few years.
Terry Labonte won here in 1984 on his way to his first Winston Cup championship, but the race everyone remembers here is the one he didn't win.
Who could ever forget Earnhardt moving Labonte out of the way in turn 3 on his way to the checkered flag? That night race in '99 is a classic no matter how you felt about that controversial finish.
Terry Labonte hails from Corpus Christi, Texas, and would love to win here in front of the home state fans again.
Yeah, he would, and he's had pretty good success here at the Texas Motor Speedway with a pole in 2000 and a win back in 1999.
Terry Labonte has been called the Iceman because of his cool demeanor under pressure, but maybe the nickname Iron Man is more appropriate.
You know, that's right. Labonte set a record for consecutive race starts with 655. That's over 20 years without missing a race.
With his open wheel background, Robby Gordon is a definite threat today at Sears Point.
Yeah, most of these guys don't have a lot of road course experience. Robby is one of the exceptions. He would probably have won here in 2001 if him and Harvick hadn't tangled on the backstretch.
Robby Gordon had a memorable day here in 2001 when his car caught fire on pit road.
That was real unfortunate for him because he had a great race car that day. But anytime you get on these road courses, Robby is one of the guys to beat.
In 2001, Robby Gordon got his first career victory in thrilling fashion here in New Hampshire.
Well, I guess thrilling is one way to put it. I know Jeff Gordon wasn't too thrilled about it. Robby got into him pretty hard in turn one, but that's racing, and a guy will do just about anything to get that first win.
Kurt Busch started on the pole for the first time in his career here at Darlington during the 2001 season.
And that's quite a surprise. The Lady in Black is a very unforgiving racetrack that can give rookies and veterans alike a hard time. But she caught up to Kurt, and he only finished 51 laps that day.
You gotta believe Kurt Busch would love to win here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Well, I'm sure he'd like to win just about everywhere. But he grew up here, and anytime you come home, you want to do well in front of the hometown crowd.
Sterling Marlin really knows his way around these restrictor plate racetracks, doesn't he, Barney?
You're right about that. 5 of his first 6 wins were at Daytona and Talladega, and he's had a bunch of poles here as well. He knows how to maneuver around in the pack and always seems to find a way to get to the front.
In 2001, Dodge returned to NASCAR with its first victory in 24 years, courtesy of Sterling Marlin.
That victory here at Michigan ended a winless streak of 170 races for Marlin as well. The move to Dodge was a good one for him as he picked up 2 wins and finished in the top 10 in points for the first time since 1996.
Sterling Marlin picked up Rookie of the Year honors in 1983, but it took him over 10 years to find his way to victory lane.
But he made it there in impressive fashion. If you have to wait that long to pick up a win, you might as well make it a big one, and Sterling did with a win in the 1994 Daytona 500.
Mark Martin scored his first pole position here at Richmond way back in 1981.
You know, he really came on the scene strong, winning 2 poles in only 5 races that year. But after a successful rookie season in '82, he didn't race full-time again until he started a very successful relationship with Jack Roush in 1988.
Mark Martin won the inaugural race here at Las Vegas in 1998, so you know he can get around this racetrack.
And he really excels on these flatter tracks. The low degree of banking really forces a driver to be smooth getting into and out of the corners. And there aren't any better at that than Mark Martin.
Mark Martin had an amazing streak of 12 consecutive years in the top 10 in points, snapped in 2001.
Mark Martin has been a model of consistency since he hooked up with Roush Racing. He qualifies well, he finishes well, and everyone out there on the racetrack respects his skill behind the wheel.
Jeremy Mayfield experienced an up-and-down year in 2000. He had 12 top 10s and 4 poles, but also had 11 DNFs.
He was either running up front with the leaders or taking an early exit. Those wins are great, but each DNF is exactly the opposite and can take a driver out of a points race real quick.
In 1998, Jeremy Mayfield got his first career victory here at Pocono.
Well, that was really a breakout year for Jeremy. He was competitive in most races and finished in the top 10 in points for the first time in his career.
Jeremy Mayfield changed teams after the 2001 season, ending a 4-year tenure with Roger Penske.
A lot of people, Ray Evernham included, believe Mayfield still has a lot of untapped potential. He certainly has shown flashes of brilliance in the past. Maybe he can put that number 19 Dodge in victory lane today.
Jerry Nadeau pulled off his first victory here in the 2000 season finale, and a year later, he nearly did it again.
You know, that was a heartbreaking near miss for this team. They were leading up until the last lap when the car ran out of fuel and Bobby Labonte overtook Nadeau for the win. But the 25 is always strong here, so look out today.
Jerry Nadeau is one of those guys who you just keep expecting to break out and have a good year.
Yeah, you do, but he's got a ton of talent and some good equipment. He's shown he can win and run up front. Now he's just got to string some success together and gain some confidence out there.
Steve Park made his way to the winner's circle for the first time in his career here at Watkins Glen in 2000.
It was impressive, too. He led the most laps and held off a late charge by Mark Martin, a driver who had won 3 times before at this racetrack.
Steve Park has had some tough breaks during his still young Winston Cup career. He missed a bunch of races in both '98 and 2001 due to injury.
Yes, and unfortunately those injuries cost him a shot at Rookie of the Year and his first top 10 points finish. but he's back now and as good as ever.
In 1992, Kyle Petty enjoyed one of his finest seasons in Winston Cup with a 5th-place points finish, 2 wins, and 5 front-row starting spots.
And he followed that up with another 5th-place points finish the next year, but after that he struggled for a long, long while, reaching a career low of 43rd place after the 2001 season.
Kyle Petty started racing in the Winston Cup Series back in 1979 at the age of 19.
You know, there's a lot of pressure on drivers in NASCAR, and you got to believe it's even heavier when your last name is Petty. So to come out and start banging fenders with these guys at age 19, you got to admire that.
Since joining Robert Yates Racing for the 2000 season, Ricky Rudd has returned to form as a championship contender.
You know, that just goes to show you how much the money factor can come into play. Ricky's been the same old driver all this time. He had a hard couple of years getting things done when he was driving for his own underfinanced race team.
With over 25 seasons under his belt, Ricky Rudd is NASCAR's most experienced full-time driver.
It's hard to believe, but he got his first Winston Cup start back in 1975 at the age of 18. Since then, he's been in the top 10 in points more often than not, and he's still at the top of his game.
Elliott Sadler surprised some people with his first career win here at Bristol in 2001.
And it wasn't that Sadler won that was surprising, because the kid has got some talent. But somehow, he and his team figured out a way to get over 160 good laps out of his tires, and he won it on fuel mileage. It was something to see.
The 21 car of Elliott Sadler is owned by the Wood brothers. They have quite a resume when it comes to NASCAR racing, don't they?
Well, that's NASCAR's second oldest race team, and they've had quite a few good drivers race for them at one time or another. Dale Jarrett, Michael Waltrip, Kyle Petty have all driven that 21 car.
Ken Schrader won Rookie of the Year honors in 1985.
You know, it seems like Schrader's been competing in Winston Cup for so long that it's hard to believe he was ever a rookie. He's a class act, and it shows on the racetrack and in the garage area.
That car of Ken Schrader sure is something else, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely got one of the most interesting paint schemes in all of NASCAR. You certainly don't have any trouble picking him out on the racetrack, and that's what a sponsor is after.
Ken Schrader has earned over 20 pole positions during his NASCAR career.
Schrader's always been pretty good in qualifying, especially in the late 80s and early 90s. In 1993, he started 8 of 30 races from the front row, and when you're not working your way through traffic, a good finish is a lot easier.
Mike Skinner began racing full-time on the Winston Cup circuit as a teammate of Dale Earnhardt. That's got to be tough.
Well, yes and no. Sure, you got a lot of eyes on you and your race team, but with someone like Earnhardt around, he's got to rub off on you. And I think it did. Skinner's an aggressive driver who doesn't like to finish second.
Mike Skinner has had some great success in one of NASCAR's other circuits.
He certainly was impressive driving trucks in 1995. He earned 10 poles and won the championship that year. Then he followed it up with a third-place finish the following year before moving on to Winston Cup.
Mike Skinner was 1997's Rookie of the Year. He won both poles at Daytona and even got a win of sorts at the end of the year.
Well, that win was at an exhibition race in Japan. He followed it up with another win over there the next year, and while those wins didn't count in the standings, they showed people that Mike Skinner had what it takes to be a Winston Cup driver.
Jimmy Spencer has earned the name Mr. Excitement with his all-out aggressive driving style.
Well, every time Jimmy Spencer gets in a race car, you know he's going to drive the wheels off that thing. Sometimes it gets him into trouble, but it makes for some great racing action.
Jimmy Spencer won 2 races in 1994, but wound up 29th in the standings. How does that happen?
Well, he had 11 DNFs, that's how. Each time you fail to finish a race, it almost completely wipes out one of those good finishes. The points championship is all about consistency.
Tony Stewart won his first NASCAR road race here at Sears Point in 2001.
Well, keep your eye on him and Jeff Gordon. Those guys know how to get around here and have banged fenders in the past. You could see them do it again today.
Tony Stewart won both races here at Dover in 2000 and always seems to run well here.
He definitely has a knack for getting around this racetrack. No matter where he starts, you got to figure on him being up front by the time this race is over.
In 1999, Tony Stewart won the Rookie of the Year award with one of the finest first seasons in NASCAR history.
3 wins, 2 poles, and a 4th-place points finish. That's a tough act to follow for any driver, and I'll bet it'll be a long time before another rookie has a coming-out party that big.
Rusty Wallace has had a lot of success at Bristol over the years, winning both his first and 50th races here at this track.
You know, there haven't been too many drivers over the years who could get around a short track better than Rusty. A lot of that is probably because he's not afraid to use his bumper when he has to.
Rusty Wallace was the 1989 Winston Cup champion in one of the closest point races in NASCAR history.
Well, that was a pretty exciting weekend in Atlanta. Earnhardt dominated and won the race, but Rusty battled to a 15th place finish. That was good enough to edge the Intimidator by 12 points.
Rusty Wallace is one of those drivers who always seems to be running up front.
He's had an incredible run of success in winning races and finishing in the top 10 in points. Add to that a solid qualifying program, and it's no big surprise that Rusty is one of NASCAR's winningest drivers.
Michael Waltrip won the 2001 Daytona 500, his first career win in his 463rd start.
He was pushed to the finish line by Dale Jr. in that race, and he repaid the favor later that year, helping Jr. win his first race at Daytona in the Pepsi 400.
Michael Waltrip joined DEI at the start of the 2001 season and got a win in his very first race for his new team.
He followed that up with some very impressive runs at the restrictor plate tracks. He's always had a knack for drafting, and with top-notch equipment, you'll be sure to see him up near the front.
Jeff Green might not be a household name, but he's had a lot of success recently in stock cars.
But, you know, there's no doubt. He won the Busch Series championship in 2000 by over 600 points, and he's finished runner-up in that series to a couple of talented guys with the names of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kevin Harvick.
Jeff Green joined Richard Childress Racing in 2001. It was the first year RCR had run 3 cars at one time in Winston Cup.
And being a part of a very successful multi-car operation is important to Jeff. His first foray into Winston Cup was a little rough, but with Childress, he's got a good chance to run well week in and week out.
Martinsville is home to a pair of firsts for Ricky Craven, his first pole and his first win.
Boy, what a fantastic story that first win is, too. In the big wreck in '98 and his struggle to regain his old form, he drove his tail off in the fall of 2001, holding off Dale Jarrett for a photo finish victory.
Ricky Craven started his first NASCAR race here in 1991.
He started it, but he didn't finish it. He came home in 34th place and wouldn't race another Winston Cup race until 1995.
Nemechek earned his first career win here at New Hampshire in 1999. He also had 3 poles that year.
While he only finished 30th in the standings, he had one of those years that starts to make you think, hey, I better keep my eye on this guy. He can get it done.
Joe Nemechek won the pole for the inaugural race here at California Speedway in 1997.
That pole and 4 other top qualifying spots in '97 earned Nemechek the nickname Front Row Joe.
Ryan Newman came out of nowhere in 2001 here at Lowe's, starting from the pole in only his second race.
Boy, was he fast that weekend. Unfortunately, he found the dip between turn 3 and 4 and looped the car early in the race. Still, you knew you were going to have to start watching out for Ryan Newman.
Ryan Newman had his first career Winston Cup start here at Phoenix in 2000.
And he surprised quite a few people by starting 10th. His finish wasn't all that good, but still everyone figured that it wouldn't be too long until you saw this kid full-time on the circuit.
Jimmie Johnson, who won a couple of championships in his early days as an off-road racer, came into the NASCAR Busch Series in 2000. He immediately showed a lot of consistency and picked up a full-time ride in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series in 2002, and he's been pretty impressive ever since. When Shawna Robinson was 19, she used to race big rig trucks around some tracks in the Midwest. That was in 1980, and she's come a long way since. She's the first woman to regularly compete in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series in over 20 years. Greg Biffle won the Ray Bestis Rookie of the Year award in the NASCAR Busch Series in 2001. He started all 33 races that year and posted 5 wins. Todd Bodine made his full-time return to the NASCAR Winston Cup Series in 2001. Bad luck played a big part in his season that year, and he finished only 29th in the point standings. Ron Hornaday has struggled so far in his NASCAR Winston Cup career, but as his past racing experience shows, he could turn things around at any moment. Frank Kimmel has had a rather limited role in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series so far. He's a veteran stock car driver who could definitely get the job done with the right equipment.